This February, we are moving from triggered to activated. Welcome to High Vibe Energy Forecast, where we get grounded, connected with our true, authentic selves, discover what's happening within and around us, release what no longer serves, tune into and recalibrate current and upcoming energies, and raise our energetic vibration so that we can experience greater transformation and ultimately spiritual evolution, which is what we all came here to master. Welcome to the Great Awakening. It is time. So if you look back in the last several weeks or months, you may have realized that you were triggered in some way during moments or phases, sometimes by small things, other times by big things. And these triggers can be so seated, especially in particular energies, right? That they absolutely just take over, and it's almost like a shadow comes over you, and then you become this like little monster, right? And it's so easy to happen. And if you're out of sorts, out of whack, it can put you out of alignment so quickly and take you so low and spread out to other people, such as loved ones in your life, because you're cranky. So we're in a period of time now where it's almost like this portal is being activated and opened, and we are turning negative activations, such as triggers, into more positive ones. If you are paying attention, you're tuned in, and you are integrating not only the energies, but also the lessons. So let me give you an example. Recently, I was awoken at 4 o'clock in the morning by 3 text messages in a row, and it was the dead still of the night. It was so quiet. I was deeply asleep, and I particularly really needed sleep that night. And had gone through days of migraines, blah, blah, blah. And so it gave me such a fright in the middle of the night. And of course, when you get a call or a text message in the middle of the night, you think it's an emergency, right? So it's very startling. And it was from just someone I haven't even met yet. It was like a tennis organizer for my kids about something that wasn't even important. So I was fuming, right? Now, firstly, I just want to state, it's my business when or if I have my phone on or off at any time, including at night, and that can change. But this particular night, my phone happened to be on. And you know, I would never text someone or call them at an inappropriate time. So, 4 o'clock in the morning is highly inappropriate, right? It's terrible. Come on. So just like you wouldn't knock on someone's door or call them, text messages should be the same. There's no excuses. And this to me seems like common sense. So the next day, I was having such an issue with it, but I didn't know how to communicate to this person. Firstly, she's just a school mom who's organizing our kids' tennis, like the team manager. I don't know her at all. We're just starting out doing competitions, and I didn't know how to approach it in a way. I didn't want to sound like a bitch, but at the same time, I was pretty pissed off. So I wanted to let it be known that this is not okay, right? And I didn't want future incidences of this to happen. So I needed to nip it in the bud and make it clear, i.e. set some boundaries. And that was the lesson that I learned. So firstly, it wasn't initially about my boundaries, but more this person's. Why don't they have boundaries? They're not having boundaries is, spilling over onto my boundaries or my wall that's right down right now. So I posted about it in Facebook, just a question, like a bit of help, what could I write in this text message? Because I'm having a bit of a pickle about it. And I was really shocked that several people were putting it on me. Like, why is my phone on? I should turn off my notifications. I had people saying that they text message people 24/7, or maybe this person does shift work, so I should understand. And it was all just like it was me. And my response to that is, like I said earlier, it's really no one's business if my phone's on or off, but I don't know if other people have their phones on or off or when they do, but that is not even the point. That can be my thing to work on, or that's a whole separate issue. The point here is it's not okay to text message somebody at 4 o'clock in the morning. Like, I don't even text people at midnight, okay? It's just, it should be common sense. So it brought up a couple of issues. The first one is what I already mentioned. The second one too is, have people lost their common sense? Because I could not believe the amount of people who were really feeling that it's okay to text someone at any time when they do, and that it's my issue. It really stirred something in me. So now my initial trigger became something way more, and it was snowballed, right? So think about how that has happened to you in recent times, especially, and if not recently, then at some point in your life, right? So moving through this whole process where it was really bothering me for quite a bit of time to the point that I realized that, yes, my boundaries do need to be reset at the moment and this year. Even if it didn't exactly have to do with that particular text message situation, I got other situations come to me. And as I sank it through my consciousness and walked through it, I realized the universe is trying to get my attention, right? So for example, there was 2 other nights where I got a phone call from Alabama of all places, and I don't know anyone in Alabama, and I don't even live in the States, I'm here in Australia, at 3 o'clock in the morning. So this never happens to me. I've only ever had one phone call at 3 o'clock in the morning outside of emergencies. And that was someone also overseas who they'd seen me on the internet, and they were going through a massive trauma about stuff that I don't even want to talk with you about. I sent them off to someone that was more appropriate. It was pretty full on, and let's just say a pretty negative situation. Okay. So the boundaries that I need to put into place are things to do with my personal life and also my business life, and how I want to show up in the world, and how the time that I need to create the content that I want to create in order to be of greater purpose and serve more people. And so I need to set boundaries into place so that not so much of my time is wasted on things like lots of emails from people, or being bombed by this or that, or distracted by things or whatever. There's so many boundaries you can think of, right? And also there's energetic boundaries, things that I'm not willing to tolerate anymore. And so these are things we all need to think about, right? So that is actually a theme that's been coming up. You just might not have realized it. But also the real theme beneath it is what I mentioned, the triggers, and then moving through that to activations. It's interesting that I just looked up then and it said 9/11. So, that is by no mistake, okay? So I will be making a video in future on numbers such as 9/11. But what I have found intuitively, and this is just my thing through my experience and through energy and intuition, is that it represents many a time, not always, but many a time, the closing of old doors, that's the 9, and the 11, opening of new doors, that's the 11. And right now we're entering this sort of portal of activation, the new doors, right? That before we need to sweep away. The angels just showed me a picture of a broom sweeping away, and it's one of those straw brooms, right? Sweeping away the dust. And there's a bit of wind, and as we sweep the dust, some leaves are collected, right? And as we sweep it away, sometimes a bit more comes through because of the wind, but we will get there. That's what they're showing me. We will get there. So hang in tight, because I know that many of you have been struggling on some level. So I'm here to reassure you. I've been feeling it. I've just not been able to make a video yet, but I'm there behind the scenes feeling it. I know, I hear you. You're not alone, okay? So take some breaths. And firstly, allow all the triggers to come up into your consciousness. People, situations, energies, disappointments, things about yourself, work, anything. Any triggers, any of the things that's been niggling at you the last few days, weeks, months, bring it up into your consciousness, spend a moment with that, come back to this later, or pause if needed. Okay, now recognize the lessons. And this might be a hard one. Sometimes you'll get it like that. Okay, allow the lessons to come through. If you've got several triggers, go through them one at a time. And allow the recognition to come into place. You may need to spend time with this, do some journaling. It's okay if you don't know it all now. We're here now to integrate, to process and then integrate. Okay, so now we're going to allow that energy to sweep away. Sweep away. So I have that clairvoyant image of a straw broom and the wind sweeping stuff away like dust, leaves. Okay, beautiful. We're allowing those triggers to dissolve. And as you release and clear away those triggers, or anything that's been bothering you, if it hasn't been a trigger, just anything, any lower energies, thoughts, emotions, doubts, self-doubt has been a theme too. Okay, having self-doubt. That uncertainty is a global collective energy, personally amongst people, but also like universally as in uncertainty about the world, economics, all that outer stuff, right? But then that trickles within you. And some people have been suffering immensely with self-doubt or similar things, okay? All right, so allow that all to dissolve. And now we're bringing in the activation. So an activating energy. Allowing that activation to happen. Beautiful. So just feel through into it. So you might for a while feel just the negativity or a combination of the good coming in and the bad going away. Just allow it to be. There's no pressure here. This is a period of new beginnings, and also there's a reminder that you have your own talents, your own gifts, purpose. Don't get caught up on those words. Don't worry if your purpose isn't clear. If you're like, I don't know what my purpose is, I can't reach it. Recognize that you might have some hang-ups about it, or some difficulties, challenges, or even not know what you're doing or where you're going. It's okay. But when you're an open vessel, you can allow the insight to come through. And that's the important step on the journey right now, being a vessel. Because we've got some pretty big energies happening. So right now, Aquarius this year is a huge factor. It's a huge background energy, which I'll talk about in another video for 2021. But on top of that is the background. Aquarius is highly activated right now. So we are not only in the period of Aquarius, it was my son's birthday just recently, and he's a beautiful, beautiful Aquarian soul. Are you an Aquarius or do you know one? Okay. And Aquarian energy is right here with us now with the new moon in Aquarius. We've got Mercury retrograde in Aquarius and a number of planets in Aquarius. It's all happening now, and this sort of doorway is opening with that. It's called a stellium. And when several planets are in the one star sign, so as it is now in Aquarius, it's a huge domination of that theme, okay? Because Aquarius is all about uniqueness, but it's also about revolution and so many other things, which I'll talk about separately. So this energy of uniqueness and revolution is circulating. There's been so much purging, right? So much change happening, in particular in the States, right? Where a lot of our focus is, or the UK on the TV. But even just within you, there's this percolation of this innovation or revolution wanting to come through. So recognize that within you now and how that's been happening within you, if that resonates. So all of this energy coming together, this stellium, that particular kind of stellium where are many planets in Aquarius has not happened since the 1960s. And it was in 1962, particularly, when Aquarius had a number of planets in it. And that was a period of great revolution. There were several things that were happening globally. So I went to Google it just before and I came up with some facts. There was the Burmese coup d'etat, which marked the beginning of one-party rule. And let's keep in mind there are elite people out there in dominance and control who want a one world government, right? Interesting. Good. That's just a theme. Let's remember also that with Aquarius, it's all about the one, as in one people, united, right? People coming together. Also, there were major news stories, including Telstar had their first live transatlantic television signal, and Aquarius is all about innovation and technology. So be looking out for a lot of that this year. There was the first Beatles song, Love Me Do. And that song is all about love, right? And that's that love energy. And Aquarius exudes that. And interestingly, the oral polio vaccine was used to combat polio. Very interesting. See the links to now? I mean, the V things are a major, major subject right now. Marilyn Monroe was found dead. And with the Cuban theme, there was the missile crisis, which took the world to the brink of war. There was John Glenn Jr., who became the first American to orbit the Earth. The first Walmart discount store was opened, and something about a Columbus Day storm. So cars continue to evolve and sold well in the US. The Cold War continued to worsen when the Russians placed ballistic missiles on Cuban land, just 90 miles away from the coast of Florida. Florida, interesting place. Florida, that pops up in my consciousness there. So keep an eye on Florida and what's happening there, or behind the scenes. Often these things are behind the scenes, right? And interestingly, JFK called the bluff by threatening war unless they were removed. Okay. But for a short time, the world was on the brink of nuclear war and self-destruction. Interesting. See how it connects? And there's a whole lot more, okay? So that's just from some websites like peoplehistory.com. So we are now at the eve of a lot of change and revolution. This whole decade, starting with 2020, right? So much has been happening, as you know, so I won't go into all that stuff, but the general theme here is major movements forward, major grumbling. So I'm getting the impression now of like an earthquake and the ground rumbling, representing people's egos, spirits, physical selves, emotional, mental selves. People have had enough. And there's different forms and factions of this, right down from the personal level, such as the triggers I mentioned earlier, to a greater scale worldwide. That's where you get the rallies and things like that. When I say those words like rallies, and it represents all that stuff, protests, civil unrest, all that stuff, right? And there's just so much in the political arena. So outside of grand world events to watch out for in the coming days and weeks, I really want to emphasize the importance of divine connection and how much we need to harbor that this year onwards. I've been getting strong messages about that. So I've been needing to spend the time personally connecting and reconnecting and sort of recalibrating, right? And I suggest that you do that too. It's really important. Spend all the time that you need. You can't be out there for other people until you're there for yourself, right? Because when we're centered in all this change and in the eye of the hurricane, then we're able to deal with things a lot better and connect with the energies a lot better. Okay, so let's end this off now by bringing in the awareness more, bringing in the light, coming back to that theme of activation. So now allow the February energies to sink in, connect with those energies. Allow them to come into your consciousness so that you can be activated in positive ways for your frequency to level up. Leveling up is another theme that I am working through at the moment, and we'll speak more about in future where relevant. Leveling up. So right now there's an energy of leveling up, so just sitting through that. And it's okay, take your time with it. When we level up, when we rise up, the angels showed me just recently this message of when you level up, you still go through ups and downs, right? There's no perfect. We're all, like, sometimes people are seeking for this sort of enlightenment where all your problems are going to end. It doesn't work this way. Duality is the law of this universe, right? So when you level up, you still go through your ups and downs, but you're up at this other level now. Because it's different. When you go through up and downs at this level, it's different to when you were at this level, right? And I don't mean it to sound in any way, shape and form like a hierarchy, or there's no elitism here. It's actually a word I don't like at all. It's about consciousness. And so that is my role, my mission and ability to raise the consciousness of individuals, myself, and I wanted to say the world, but you know what I mean. That radiates outwards to other people, and it does place an impact and effect on the world. And this is what we're all here to learn and do for ourselves, but we've got to work on our own shit, right? You can do this, and I'm right here rooting behind you every step of the way. Okay, so talk soon and see you next time.